Welcome everyone to today's Launchpad Corner. Today we're going to be going over what is a business mindset and what it takes in order to start a business. So we're going to go over quite a few things such as how to manage time horizons, how to really put the effort into personal development, how you want to focus up and just make sure that the initial tracks that you're going along is setting you up to make things easier down the line when you get onto a more developed business, and what is the difference between a startup and a business. Before we get started, this talk is actually part of the Essential Hackathon preparation series that we're doing on Launchpad Corners. So we've got a hackathon event which is taking place on the 3rd of February that we'll have the links going out to, and then what will happen from there is that you guys will be able to sign up to it. It will start at 9:30 a.m. It'll go until 6 p.m. It's going to be at Dubai Futures Auditorium at Emirates Towers, and in the period of that hackathon, what's going to happen is that you guys are going to learn how to put together a complete AI SaaS. So the first project is an AI shorts clipper, and that's something where we're going to show you how to do all the various different API calls, how to use various libraries in order to create the clips, how to apply it to a back end and a SaaS and a front end as well. Everything that you'd need in order to have something that you can take to get your first users so you can start your first iteration. This talk that I'm doing here today is taken directly from there. So we wanted to make more time for you guys to be able to code a little bit more on the hackathon. So this is actually essential prep that is going to really inform and increase your chances of success, because in order to be successful, you're going to have to code a certain way. You're going to have to code the Launchpad way in order to get that first product done and on time. So without further ado, I'm going to get started on what it is that we're doing today and share the presentation screen. If you guys bear with me one moment, I'm just going to share the screen now and then we'll get started. I'll ask for thumbs up just to make sure everyone can see the screen. Got raised hands, got thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Well, let's get started then. Now, we've called this what is a business mindset, and it also comes under the banner of idea to tangible. Like what do we mean when we're saying idea to tangible? But before we get there, what is a business? A lot of people think they know what a business is, but let's dial it back down and actually go back down to basics on it. A business has got stages and it needs to grow. This is the first thing, is that a lot of the people at Coders HQ, the way that Launchpad was actually born out was people coming, talking to us on the Coders HQ stand on GITEX, and based on all that feedback, myself, Sheher, Vikesh is also here, Isham isn't here, but there was a few of us that were there on the stand, and we actually had the conversation where we thought, why don't we put something together and show people how it is that they can take the technical knowledge that they got and launch a business. A lot of people don't realize that a business has stages. So a lot of people, what they actually think in order to start a business is that you need a fully working and scalable product. You need a marketing plan, budget, you need office space, you need a bank account with 100 million dirhams inside of it, you need incorporation, you need to have done 8 funding rounds, workspace, workforce, you need 700 employees and a complete business plan with marketing analysis. That's where a lot of people believe that you need to start. When you start talking to them, they think that you need all these things. What you got to do is that eventually at some point you will have those things, or you would like to have those things, and it's a case of you will, as you develop the business, as you take each step, you're going to be able to come on to doing these things, but in the beginning you really scale it down. So like I said, spoiler alert for the rest of this talk. The rest of it is going to be about you need these things later, not at the beginning. So let's break down the 4 phases then for a business and what it is that it comes down to. It comes down into 4 phases. You've got idea, you've got build, you've got grow, and you've got scale. Vikesh, who we've got on this team over here, he'll really enjoy doing some sessions on growing and scaling and things like that. But initially, we're going to be talking more about ideation in this series for the first workshop that's going to be coming on. And that's the difference between a startup and a business, is that the startups focus on the ideation phase. A business is focusing more on the growing and scaling sort of phase, and the transition between that is how you build a product up and mature. So what do we mean by idea then? You've seen something that is valuable or gained an insight. Is there an audience for it? Sometimes there's a gap in the market, but there's no market in the gap. Sometimes there might be a reason why there isn't the need for the product or the service or the idea that you've come up with. So you need to, verify on the idea stage what it is that you're doing over there. That's one of the things that you're doing over there. Some ideas are good on paper, but poor in practice. And sometimes it's the right idea, but the wrong time or place. I'll give you an example is that in 2008, 2009, we were making video conferencing software similar to Teams and Zoom and things like this. And if we were too early though. If we'd stayed in it for when COVID came along, we would have been in a significantly advantageous position. So that's just personally something that you can see, that sometimes you've got the great product, you've got a great idea, but it's just the wrong time or place. So that's part of the journey when you're going through the ideation phase, some of the things that you're figuring out, and also you need to figure out if it's going to be worthwhile to build a company and dedicate the next 5 to 10 years of your life. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of resources to build a company. In your ideation phases, this is what you're trying to sort of prove to yourself. And there's also a point that you can build something in under a week. And if you attend our workshop, you're going to do it in less than 24 hours to understand whether you want to take it further or not. There's a lot of different signposts that you get along the way, like this 100-step journey. There's a lot of different things that happen, such as getting your first users, iterating, getting your iteration loop set up. So you're getting your feedback and then you're developing upon it, slowly spreading it out, and then going for, startup accelerators that you can take part in, and then branching out even further, where you start doing media outsourcing and, media outcalling and, things like that. And really getting the product out there and scaling it up. Those are the topics that we're going to cover later on, but later on as in other sessions. But for this session, we're focusing more on the ideation. But for the sake of completion, we've got build. So once you get out the ideation phase, you've got the initial concept, that it's worth building an MVP for, you're going to start developing it further. So the product's designed to capture a larger audience from the idea product. So whereas before you might be making for maybe, up to 50 users in the beginning, now you're sort of thinking that, okay, how can I make something which maybe 1,000, 2,000 users can use? And it's going to have greater complexity and costs associated with that. How are you going to deliver that product? How are you going to make sure that it's serviceable, that people can get it instant? That's where the build phase starts coming in. And as you understand the technologies, you can now start to associate the costs and begin to formulate a business model that can support your business plan. As you realize, what you might realize is that one set of delivery mechanisms might be good in the beginning, but as you're going to grow up, you're going to need, as your business grows, you're going to need to have a different set of mechanisms. So that is going to have different costs, which is going to start to impact your profit margin. These are the things that in the build phase you're really learning up when you're coming out of the ideation phase into the build phase and getting it ready to scale up. Analytics can massively help to support development decisions as well, and also aid in other areas such as the marketing plan. So if for example, if you've got a website, you've got 10 pages, if for example, that people are using pages 3, 5 and 6 a lot, and there's certain features on there, and them features are getting a lot of click-through, a lot of traffic, that is something which you will be able to use and be able to put your developers forward and say that, okay, the majority of people that are using our services are using these features. Let's focus on these features for improvement. Also, if you've got the majority of people using certain number of features, you know what you need to market to certain audience demographics. If you have an idea of what the demographics of your user base is, and each demographic, they're leaning heavily towards certain features, then you can really start to take a data-driven approach to marketing as well. So these are some of the things that in the build phases what you're doing. In the growth phases, you've got your MVP done, and you can now grow the business through the sales and the customer base. You need to add facilities that can support the systems and procedures that you're going to put in place to help the business manage its operations. So what does that mean? That means that as you're getting bigger, not only is the product need to be scaling, but also you and the business need to be scaling as you're servicing more people. If you've only got 3 or 4 customers, it's very easy for you to be the support person. All of a sudden, if you get 500, 700 customers, you need to put systems in place and procedures in place and get a team in place that can help you manage and serve those 3 to 500 customers, and the growth portion involves creating a positive cash flow situation as well. A lot of people don't give consideration to cash flow when they're first starting out, but it's really important, and it's one of the advantages of SaaS, which is because it's generally a subscription model that you apply. Generally, you get the payment up front, at the beginning of the month. I mean, like, some people add in usage and certain other things, but it's something that can really help the cash flow situation and to create a positive cash flow situation, because you can have instances where you're profitable, but your money is going down because your cash flow isn't great. So when you get experience in business, you'll find some very painful lessons with cash flow and things like that. But the goal in the growth phase is to appeal and generate moats to give edges over your competition and allows for staying power. So when we're talking about staying power and moats, what we're talking about is that now you've got your core product. Now it's about actually getting it out there and start competing. One of the things that I often say to people that come to me with advice is, what is the chances that only you have had that idea in the world? And the answer is 1 in 8 billion, because there's 8 billion people in the world. So for you to believe that only you have had that idea, it's 1 in 8 billion, and it just shows how slow your chances are. And if you are on the right track, if you are going into an environment where there is a significant demand for it, you will see competition. Competition is a good sign in certain instances. In a lot of instances, actually, competition is a great sign that you're going down the right track. So how is it that in the growth stages you're going to start to develop the branding, and how you're going to develop the moats, the technical moats? Maybe it's that in the growth stages you're setting up data network effects, which are allowing you to use the data you're collecting to make your algorithms better, and through making your algorithms better, your product becomes better. And that's one of the ways that you can develop a moat. And again, establishing a sales funnel. We're not going to touch on all of these topics over here. I mean, there's loads of sessions that we've got to get through, and I'm conscious of the time. I want to be respectful of your time, but make sure that you guys are share, subscribing, and following Coders Launchpad on all of our social media channels, because we are going to have a lot of content coming out. And then finally, we've got the scale phase. So your business and your product is down to a science and is running smoothly. You're now ready to really push the business. This is where you would really understand that if you're putting $1 into the business, how much you're getting out, exactly where that dollar is going to be spent, things like this. You're focusing on gaining market share and making your brand recognizable. You're now operating in multiple regions, and the company structure transforms again in order to account for the fact that you're now scaling massively. Is that okay? You've got something set up in the UAE. How do you make sure that it's also operating, for example, in the US and in the UK? And you have all these satellite sort of different regions and companies as well. So there's a lot to consider over there, that when we're breaking it down into the 4 levels, you've got the idea, you've got the build phase, you've got the growth phase, you've got the scale phase. This is where when you're talking about a business, the 4 different phases. You guys, a lot of the people that are in Coders HQ, they don't have a company and things like that, and that's what we're catering for in the beginning phases, people that want to get started on the startup journey. So for that reason, we're going to be focusing on the ideation phase. So to start, you need an idea that you can show to people to ask them if it is any good. That's your first step. Get something that you can show to people. It's no good constantly talking about people. What we want to be doing is that you want to be showing people. Me and Vikesh on the Launchpad team, we say this quite a bit, which is that, we're show and don't tell, and the impact that you get from becoming someone who is show and don't tell is quite significant. So you want to be doing that. And at each step, you've got to have a clear hypothesis and action plan that can be implemented based on the results that you achieve. What do I mean by this? If we're taking a business as like a science experiment, let's just say, for example, we're going to add a solid to a liquid, and we're going to expect that the liquid's color is going to change from clear to blue. But then what happens is that the liquid's color changes, instead of from clear to blue, it changes clear to green. what would happen logically in a science experiment is that we would investigate, why did it happen? Why were we expecting this to happen? Why were we expecting result A, and why did we get result B? What should our action be in case of this? And at every single point, you've got a hypothesis that you are adjusting as you go along. A lot of people, they get very tunnel vision and they become very precious over what it is that they're doing and their business plan and, you know, the way that they want to go about it. But the honest truth is that as you perform each action and you gauge what the reaction is, you often end up changing the shape of the product. You know, there's so many times where, you know, I worked on features and I released a product and I got it in the hands of users, and through analytics I realized that, wait a minute, I wanted to take the company down a certain path, but the users are wanting to take the company down another path, you know. And then you go into analyzing why that might happen. You send out customer surveys, you get feedback, and I adjust the plan, you know. And that's a way of being able to carefully, I wouldn't say pivot, but iterate your product accordingly, you know. And at the very beginning, what you need to have in your mind is the idea and the concept of, how can I be less wrong tomorrow than I am today? Not how can I be more right tomorrow than I am today? How can I be less wrong tomorrow than I am today? And that concept is what is going to foster the growth mindset that you need, you know, and that is what's going to really push that forward and really help you punch up to the next level, because you are going to be challenged in a lot of different ways, you know. And that's something that you need to really be open to, what it is that your customer's saying, what it is that the data is saying, you know. And really, and I'm drilling this point in, guys, because it's really important. It's the key flaw that I see in a lot of people that start businesses, is that you need to have a hypothesis and you need to be open to that changing. You need to deal with it like it's a science experiment, you know. You need to be open. If things change, if you don't get the actions or the reactions that you expect, you need to adjust your approach and have a data-driven and objective way of approaching how it is that you're going to make your decisions. Yes, you have a plan. Yes, you have your insight. You have the things that make you that is providing value to the business, but you need to have input to make sure that it's a compass, to make sure that you're heading in the right direction, that you're ultimately heading toward profitability at some stage and at some point. So I'm going to actually talk about a very personal circumstance, and I'm going to actually talk about some of the accelerators. You know, to get onto Microsoft for Startups with a product demo, you need something which takes less than 24 hours to build. That's a claim. Some people might say how it is that you can say that you need something that takes less than 24 hours to build. I'm going to tell you my experience with Microsoft for Startups and how one of my startups, AILAR, which is an AI education tool, how that got accepted onto Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. So what we've got is that I spent 15 hours making a basic product. And when I say basic, I mean really basic. It was a PHP website. The graphical UI was non-existent. It was just tables and buttons and text, and that was it. It was very dry. And I spent 15 hours making a basic proof of concept, very basic. I spent 5 hours making a pitch video, complete with graphics and market research that I had done to support the business case for my application with Microsoft for Startups. So I started, and I basically started, I think it was 8 p.m. I started at 8 a.m. and I went through, and by the time everything was said and done, I'd spent 20 hours working on it. I then created that's including creating the video and the application form and everything like that. I then submitted the application form, and what happened was that 4 hours later I got a response. Within 24 hours basically of starting this thing, I got a response that saying that, okay, you've now been accepted onto Microsoft Startups Founders Hub. That is how simple it is. Is that what we're saying is that we're bringing down the action thresholds that you guys have. We're bringing it right down, because a lot of it you don't need to in the beginning phases. There's a lot of things that you can cut out that can really help you accelerate in the beginning phases to get into your feedback and iteration loops. And that's what we're focusing on in the beginning period. It's not going to be a perfect product that you're going to build. It's going to be far from perfect, but it's like an MVP for an MVP. You know, so, you know, that is what it comes down to, is that it's done by cutting out all the steps that are needed later in a business and focusing on the idea phase. How is it that you can develop and show your idea, and showcase that you're someone who's worthy of backing that whilst you're going to go on this journey, and the next slide, it says today, but it's actually, on the event day. So on the 3rd of March, if you guys sign up to it, I would recommend that you sign up to it, especially if you're really interested in going for the sort of, if you're thinking about starting the startup and things like that. It's going to be challenging, but it's going to be really great. It's going to be really rewarding, but on that day, you're going to learn how to build something that is a start of a business by dialing in a framework which accelerates the early stages. So we're going to be talking you through, some of the things, and we're going to come on to them over here, but that is what we're going to get to. So again, I'm going to ask the first question again. What is a business? I've just given a basic rundown, but now let's start getting into, on the workshop day, how it is that we want your mind framed up for it. We've covered off quite a bit so far. So a business is simple. It's you identify a way to provide value to a group of people. You find a way to deliver that value. Your audience finds it easy to use and recommend your product. Your audience pays you money based on the value you provide them. You use that money to improve the structures and procedures that allow you to deliver more value. That, in a nutshell, is a very simplified version of what is a business. Business is simple, people make it complicated, guys. You got to always think about this. Occam's razor, the simplest solution is most oftentimes the best solution. The key word that you would have seen over here, and you would have seen it repeated, is that we've got value, 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 value. I can see value on 4 of those 5 points. So the key word is, guess what? It's value, guys. So value comes in 2 parts then. You're going to be transforming data where you create the value. Can you do the actual thing that you want to do? So in the case of the AI Shorts Clipper, which you guys are going to be doing on the event of the 3rd of February, Shahar, put the link in the chat, please. And the down below, we'll have the link down below as well for people to sign up to. But the first step is going to be creating the value. So in the case of the AI Shorts Clipper, what's going to happen is that it's about seeing whether you can take a video and identify where the highlights are, where you need to make the cuts, and can you reframe the video. And then the second part is accessibility. There's no point making something really great if no one is able to access it, and the point is that if there's a famous English saying, I'm from the UK, there's a famous saying over here, which is that if a tree falls in a field and there's no one to see or hear it, did it really fall? So you can have an absolutely fantastic, method of creating the value of, the viability of the product, which is, are you able to transform the data and, create the value? But if people can't access it, then it's not feasible. And if it's not feasible, then, you're not going to be able to break through and push through and really create a business that can be supported out of it. So what's the life cycle of executing an idea then? Well, you could literally start at any single point of this, but let's say, for example, let's use the example of the AI Shorts Clipper. Data in, video, YouTube URL in, you transform the data, you present the data, you get the value out, you get the feedback, and you iterate. That's the process. So when we're saying that data in, YouTube URL comes in, transform data is that, we create the clips and everything like that. We present the data back out. So that involves like a front end, a UI or UX or something where people can see that, okay, this is my data. That becomes value out. So to the customer, what happens now is that you've created the value, you presented the data in, and then now the customer is going to be able to take value out of it. With that value out of it, you're going to be able to get feedback either through analytics, through surveys, through working with them, face-to-face meetings. I'm a big believer in that you should always aim to do face-to-face. If you can't do that, you do a video call. If you can't do that, you do a voice call. If you can't do that, you do an email. If you can't do that, well, you do a survey. But the hierarchy is that I always prefer in-person meetings, always, because you can get so much more feedback and you can get context for it, and the people can see you, and it's a chance for them to gain confidence in you as a person, because the business can only grow as much as you're going to grow as well. And you are the business. In the beginning stages, you are the business. If you don't work, nothing happens for that company in the beginning stages. So the life cycle of executing an idea is this concept of setting up these loops where you're going to, get the data in, transform it, present it, value out, feedback, iterate, and over and over and over again. The quicker you can get users the quicker you can learn whether the value or the form with which you are delivering the value has the potential to grow into a viable business. So this is the concept of speed. A lot of people don't move quick enough. On the Launchpad team, we've been putting together all of these programs for you guys. I have a saying, and that everyone always says it now, which can sometimes be a little bit funny, but it's that when do we need something done? And we always say yesterday. It always needed to be done yesterday. That's the speed with which we move at. And based on some of the other interactions that you might see where some of the other Launchpad team members are coming in, there is a lot that you can take from that. Like speed can give you an insane advantage in a lot of areas, and we're going to come on to how to use speed responsibly later on. So the quicker you can get users, the quicker it's going to be for you, the more beneficial it's going to be for you. Let's go back to the transforming data. And transforming data is where your POC or your POC or your proof of concept stage kicks in. And this is, again, coming into on the event day. Really pay attention to this, guys. Share has sent the link into the group for the registration for the Eventbrite. So if you want to sign up really early, the 27 or so people that are here right now, if you want to sign up early, make sure you do that, and really take advantage. But this is where you're going to now start to get a lot of value out of this. So especially if you're going to be attending that Hackathon. So transforming data is where the proof of concept stage kicks in. This is really contained. Everything's a proof of concept really, but this is where it is, really, really condensing down now. It's like this is a core sort of key basic element. This could be as simple as a Python script, but all you're trying to do is prove that you can transform the data to create the value that it is that you're trying to create. So you ignore scalability at this point. You ignore deployment structures. You keep the goals low so you can build momentum, and you focus on easy wins. So this can be as basic as a simple Python script, guys. Like literally, like there's no front end, there's no back end, there's no design, nothing like that. It's not even like, running as part of any framework that you would use to deploy. It's just a simple Python script, hard-coded YouTube URL goes in there, and then it creates a video file that comes out the other end, and it's something which is bare bones, minimum, and it just gets the job done. That is what your POC side sort of looks like. And when you come to the workshop, you're going to get the context, because we're going to be showcasing you guys the coded examples and things like that. So the POC grows into your product demo. That's the other things that you're going to add into the other things. That's the other stuff that you're going to add to the POC in order to create that first usable demo. If you take a Python script to an end user, for example, if you take a Python script to a content creator, they're not going to be impressed. You need to really add a few things to it and really iron out some of the edge cases, which will really help you deliver that higher quality. So the POC can be broken down into 3 stages: simple script for performing data transformation, webhooks to the front end. So this is routes, fetch requests, etc., and hooks to the database. We're going to be covering this in more, detail later on. If the UI UX is bad, the user will never see what you've built as valuable. We're repeating some of the things that we've said over here. Why? Because business is simple. People make it complicated. So we're repeating so that we get the point across to you guys. You need to make sure the UI UX is insane, is sharp. You need to really make sure that you cut out a lot of the clutter. Is something very simple, very intuitive to use. One of my mentors gave me a way of being able to tell whether a UI UX is good. And that's when you have users using your product, sit in the same room as them, and like as first-time users, and don't talk. Don't even help them, and watch them try to sign up and use your product without you guiding them on anything. And it's an incredibly frustrating experience, to go through, but it really does help you to understand whether your product is intuitive, because then that lets you know whether you've got the chances of virality in the product. Because if it's really intuitive for people to pick up, it's going to be really easy for people to talk about it through word of mouth. The best type of marketing is word of mouth marketing. I mean, Sam Altman from OpenAI, one of the things that he said directly on the OpenAI Dev Day was how OpenAI got to its user base, its current user base, entirely on word of mouth marketing. It shows you just how powerful it is. If it's really easy for people to use, it's going to be really easy for people to talk about it. So it's really key that you get that down right. And this is why, whilst building the POC, you need to have the UI and UX in mind, and what I mean by that is that, you need to understand that, are you going to be making an app for this? Are you going to be making an API for this? Is it something which, is going to be, there's so many ways that you can deploy these things. How is it that you're going to be interfacing with it so you can make sure that you're coding it up appropriately? This would affect other areas, of what it is that you're doing. If the user can't easily access or adopt your product, navigate your product, they'll never adopt it. We've covered that before. So, being able to access and navigate. So if you're creating, let's just say, video clips, if they can't get hold of them quickly, they're going to become frustrated, they're going to leave. So that's where your stack feeds into the POC and the UI UX in order to create a simple demo. Do you have an AWS web store? Are you going to be demoing it somewhere where you might not have an internet connection? Have you accounted for the fact that you might have to demo it without an internet connection? What is it that you're going to do in that use case? Things like this, is what you sort of think about. So you need to do the following. Basically, you need to build fast. You need to design a product that can handle the majority of objections that a potential user would have. You need to be able to showcase in your demo that you have a feature that is an order of magnitude better than what they are currently using. So in the case of the AI Shorts Clipper, it might be something that takes a video editor to produce 20 video clips from an hour-long podcast. It might take them 8 hours, and you can do it in 10 minutes. You are an order of magnitude better. An order of magnitude is like 10x basically better. So you're able, just in one feature, to be able to show that in order to grab their attention, and you can showcase the ability to be able to iterate and develop upon your idea. In 24 hours, in 1 week, the product is not going to be a pretty product. It's going to have issues with it. But can you sell the fact that you are someone that you're worth backing, that you're worth iterating, that you're someone who can iterate on this product, and you give confidence and you make that customer feel valued, you make them want to come on this journey with you. So don't overcomplicate everything. You're trying to prove a hypothesis. Common user complaints that you're going to get, and these are things that you need to be thinking of in terms of objections, is that do I have to download the program? I can't save the work I've done. If I refresh, I lose everything. I can't create an account, or I have to create an account. Depending on your use case and what other people are doing in the market, you might need an account to be made so you can keep session history and things like that, or you might not want to have an account, depending on what you're going for. I can't figure out how to use it. It's too complicated. Your product is too slow. I don't know what the product is doing when processing. These are common user complaints that will literally kill your first demo when you show it to someone flat. Honestly, it's something which can make a massive difference to what it is that you're doing, and it's things that you have to account for. What you don't want to do is that you showcase it to someone and they get stuck about the fact that they've pressed the send button, or the generate button, and they can't tell whether it's generating or not. And if they close the page, or if they go onto a different page and come back, then they can't access that generation or whatever it is that was doing it. Just loses. It's gone into the ether, so you need to really be thinking about common complaints that you get from the user, and you need to really be making sure that in the beginning phases you cover enough of them. You cover enough of them so that they don't get stuck up on it, because usually you don't have any branding, you don't have previous companies, you don't have a track history or track record or anything like that. So your attention span with these people is already quite small. Add on to that we now live in the social media generation. I think it's like 5 or 3 seconds or whatever it is that people spend on each post, and in general that's caused a lot of people's attention spans to like drop. So there's a massive deficit. So you need to make sure that you're earning the next 3 seconds. What you don't want to be doing is tripping up over yourself because you haven't tied your shoelace properly. What does that mean? What does not tying your shoelace properly means? You haven't accounted for the customer complaints. So it's an MVP for your MVP, and do what will get you the best chance of receiving quality feedback from users for your first step. That's what you need to really focus in on. Is that, don't go for all the really nice to haves and things like that. And oftentimes when you're demoing to customers, they start telling you about, oh, it'd be great if you did this and did this and did this and did this, and you might go ahead and do all of that, but then they might not buy your product and things like that. Is that like, so that's like an example of you getting feedback, but then it's not quality feedback because it hasn't it hasn't really provided any value. You're catering just toward one customer. So that's why it becomes really really key to move at speed, not only to build a product, but to also expand your customer base so you can get a varied amount of opinions. So you can say, okay, I've got a customer base of 50 people that are giving me feedback, and 80% of them have said that I should build feature Y. So it's a very good thing that it is a good chance that feature Y is something that would deliver more value. I've got someone else, they're an exceptional person, highly operating person, but they want me to build feature Z, and that's something which only they are asking for. Now you need to make a decision about whether it'd be worthwhile to deliver it, and you might do some tests and things like that, and survey and canvas opinion across your different user bases. But that's what we're going to be showing people today, is that the concept of, how it is that you're going to super optimize. When you come to that event on the 3rd of February, that's what you're going to be seeing, is that how we've stripped down the concept of an AI shorts clipper to get the base features which cover the majority of objections that users would have, that gets the core functionality done so that you can take it, show it to a person, and start getting an idea of how to iterate upon it, how to feedback upon it. You've got a product that you can actually record and show to Microsoft for Startups and get onto the Microsoft Startups program or NVIDIA Inception, something like that. There's loads and loads of startup accelerators and programs that you can have. So speed is king. Competitors have more money, time, and resources than you. The only advantage you have is the fact that you can make decisions faster and launch quicker. There is no bureaucracy. You don't have a HR unit, you don't have a legal unit that you have to go take things through. You can do things very quickly. Use speed to your advantage. A lot of you guys, you got a lot of free time. There's a lot that you can do in an hour. When you truly think about it, there is a huge amount of work that you can do within an hour of time. Once you've got yourself to the point where you're ultra focused on, cutting out all the other steps that you need to do and focusing on what is directly going to impact what you need right now. I'm not saying that you don't need to do them steps. Oftentimes you do need to do them steps, but they come at later stages. In the beginning stages, when you've got no company, you've got no branding, you've got no history, you've got no experience, you need to just be trying to go as quickly as possible to create something of value, and you need to fall into your iterative loop. So you need to launch quickly, you need to fail quickly, you need to learn quickly, you need to iterate quickly, you need to launch quickly. Why do I have fail quickly written over there? Well, you're going to launch. Some things are going to be a success, some things are not going to be a success. I'm where I am today because of all the failures that I've had in business, and I've had a lot of failures. I've had a lot of successes, but I've had way more failures. A lot of other people that you've talked to, they will say the same thing. They've had a lot of failures, and it's the failures which teach you the most, where the hypothesis was so far wrong, the direction you're going in and the methodologies of what you thought was going to happen and your interpretation of the data was so far wrong, that it has an effect where you really have key teachable moments where you're learning that, okay, this is not just a theoretical thing, it's something in practice. That experience, the best of knowledge is that which is learned through experience. So you need to launch, and you need to get to the point where if something is going to fail, it's going to fail quickly and you can get to the next point. Like I said, is that the concept at the very beginning where I spoke about you might have a gap in the market, but is there a market in that gap? What if you build everything, do it really great, and you find out there's no market in that gap? Well, that's obviously you failed in a certain sense. You failed. Actually, you've done amazingly well to do that. But you can move on to the next idea and the next idea and the next idea. If 1 in every 10 businesses succeed, your goal should be to as quickly as you can, get to the point where you've tried 10 businesses, you're given a really good shot of it, you know what I mean? And you've given them all the time they need in order to be able to grow, and you're giving them your values and your commitment, and your skills in order to be able to be a success, and you get there properly. So you launch quickly, you fail quickly, you learn quickly, you iterate quickly, and you launch quickly. You literally do that over and over and over again. This creates the pressure you need for the business to succeed and for you to grow. That is the key point, is that you have to be creating internal pressure. One of the things that we talk about a lot in the Coders Launchpad is keeping the internal pressure up. It's the idea that if everything is so relaxed and it's not there, you're not going to get the urgency or the need to perform at the level that you need to perform in order to push through and to make a really positive impact on, creating the business, and that's not to say is to get stressed out and things like that. Like when pressure gets too much, you get stress, and stress is a dangerous thing. Stress can cause a lot of health issues. But there's two ways of approaching it. You either introduce processes and procedures which make things easier for you, or what it is that you just reduce your workload back down and you become more manageable. But again, the concept of just focusing on the immediate things that you need to do, having insane focus and getting them done quickly, is something which is going to really help manage, stress from becoming too much, and what will happen is that you will feel a lot of stress and pressure because you're going to get to a point where hopefully you guys are amazing people. You're going to be succeeding maybe at a level that you've not succeeded before. So your brain's not used to operating at the level that you're having to operate at, and that's a completely normal thing. And that's what the community is for Coders HQ. If you're in the Coders Launchpad, if you're someone who's actually going through something like that, we've got a community, the Coders Launchpad community that Sheher will send the link for into the group. Join it, communicate with it, talk to people about it, share your journey. We're all sharing our journeys in there. You guys share your journey as well, and that's something where we can really help with that aspect when you get to that point. Now everyone says the same thing to me when I'm talking about speed. They say that speed comes at the cost of quality. These are people who are not fully competent. Okay, Cher has shared the link into the chat as well. Thank you very much, Cher. So these are people who are not fully competent. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's 4 levels of competency. You've got unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, consciously competent, and unconsciously competent. So what does that mean? Unconsciously incompetent, you don't know what it is that you don't know. This is the absolute worst spot to be. You've got no idea. I'm telling you to bake a bread and you don't even know what a bread is. This is the level that you're at. Then you got consciously incompetent, which is that you know what it is that you need to know so you can learn now. Okay, so what that means is that now, what is it, that okay, to bake a bread I need to understand how to use an oven, I need to understand how to get flour and eggs, things like this, all these sorts of things. You don't know anything about it, but now you're aware of what it is that you don't know about. Consciously competent, you can now perform the task, but it takes all of your time and effort and focus. You're making that bread for the first time, you might mess it up a little bit, but it takes all your effort, and then now finally you're able to bake one piece of bread, and it might take you one day. And then at a certain stage in time, what happens is that you get so much experience at doing it, and you put in place systems and procedures, and you train the muscle of being able to do that task. You really train the muscle of being able to do that task. What happens is that you become unconsciously competent. You can do it in your sleep. Like bread is nothing to you anymore. This might seem a little strange to the people that are joining right now. We're talking about bread. What is it? But that's the 4 levels of competency. So if you're thinking that you can't move fast enough, what you need to think is, how can I become someone who can move fast enough? Is it that I need to somehow inspire people to help me on the project, to help me with interns and things like that? Do I need to introduce systems and procedures? Should I use AI someplace or somewhere? How can you become more and more competent, more and more, increase your skill set in order to be able to move faster and faster and faster? Because that is what is going to give you an edge over people like Google and Microsoft and Amazon and things like that. There's a reason why they acquire these, smaller companies and smaller startups, and the reason is that they're able to move faster than them to be able to create the user base and other things like that, and they create an excellent business, which they understand that it's better for them, it's less resource intensive for them to just buy that company out than to continue developing the features in-house and things like that. And it's an oversimplification of it, but it's in essence, speed in business does not mean ticking a box. I just noticed, sorry, so we can see the speed sign over there, 240. One of my notes for this event was that we had to increase the speed sign. Originally it was on 40 kilometers per hour. I said it should be 240. But anyways, speed in business does not mean simply ticking a box. It means hitting the required quality level as quickly as possible. And I'm going to come on to this in the next slide, actually. So I'll go over to that. Is that, for example, I'm late to a multi-million-dollar contract signing. My car tire is blown. Obviously, this is a very stressful situation to be in, especially if you've never signed a multi-million-dollar contract before and you're about to change your life. I need to get the tire changed at a garage. I want to be on the road as quickly as possible, but I don't want the car to be unsafe and potentially delay me further or kill me. That would be creating a false economy in terms of time. Okay, you need to learn how to move at speed by becoming an unconsciously competent person. We want that tire to be replaced competently and as quickly as it can be done in a competent fashion. We never sacrifice the quality, the time it takes to do the job. I mean, yeah, sure, what is it? I could maybe only tie on 3 bolts instead of 5, but then what happens if the tire comes off? Or I could not tighten them up properly to save a little bit of time. Is it truly worth it? When you start looking at it, this is a concept that I got a lot from the manufacturing in China, and I learned this lesson in a very painful manner, which is that sometimes when you're working with factories in China and manufacturing, you start haggling on price, and they say, yeah, we can get down to that price, and what I didn't realize is that when they're saying about getting down to the price, they start putting in all the cheap components. They start using really poor solder, really poor, PCB qualities and traces. All these other things start cutting these costs in order to get down to the price, and then you really learn the meaning of the sayings that you can either work up to a standard or down to a price, and I really realized that, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't worth me negotiating and things. That you have to be explicit and explain to people that the quality standard is the quality standard. How quickly can we hit that quality standard? So that is some of the things that, when we're talking about speed, quality is never a negotiable when we're talking about speed. This is a really key point, guys. And now when you come to the event, you're going to hear it say speed, and speed. We are never talking about sacrificing quality. Why? Because we're aspiring to be unconsciously competent people that are able to always deliver in quality, where quality is never a variable for us. So you apply professional standards to your work and you don't make excuses. This is a very key thing, is that, applying that quality standards to your work and then not making excuses when things go wrong. If you believe that everything is happening is your fault, that means that everything good that can happen is also in your hands. And that's something which is going to give you a chance of succeeding at business. And also what we're going to be doing on the workshop day, on the 3rd of February, that you can see the link in the chat, that Share sent up. You got the WhatsApp chat in there, you got the Eventbrite chat link as well. Make sure you guys get signed up to that. And that is what is going to give you a chance of succeeding at business, applying professional standards and holding yourself responsible. It doesn't matter that someone else, said something wrong and messed up the deal. You could have put a better person, in charge of them. You could have sent a better person to that interview and things like that, to that sales demonstration. It doesn't matter that you got hit by a bus. You could have seen the bus coming. When you start to take on this area of responsibility, you can look at it one or two ways. You can either get crushingly depressed, or you can look at it like how a sane person would look at it and say that, okay, I can start improving things one by one and seeing the effect of it, and I could become a better version of myself. So that's how you need to really look at it, is that really self-analyze and self-scrutinize, and it's what's giving you power. That is what's really driving the power aspect to you. No one is ever ready for business, but the question is, how can you become someone who's ready? These are one of the things is that I always say, is that whenever I come challenged, I'm always pushing myself. So it means that I'm always not as competent as I'd like to be at certain tasks, because I'm trying to push, I'm trying to grow and things like that. The question I always ask myself is, how can I become the version of myself that is able to overcome these challenges, that is able to go ahead and be able to, push through, and is able to make a difference, and these are the questions that you guys should be asking yourselves. How can you become someone who's ready? How can you go on the journey? There was one point in time where all of us here didn't know how to talk, but we became people who learn how to talk. How did we learn? We went to school. Our parents taught us. They had various different methods, and it's the same thing with business and things like that. How can you become someone who's ready? How can you become someone who develops that instinct? How can you be someone who's always quicker than everyone else? How would that person or that version of you think, act? What decisions would they make? This is what a mindset is. It's that understanding that you need to become a more competent person in order to be able to address the tasks that you have in hand in front of you. So you need to know how to think and act and what decisions the version of you that is able to do all them things can do. So if you've baked, for example, 1,000 pieces of bread, you're going to make different decisions on certain situations than the version of you that's only baked 2 pieces of bread. Why? Because you've got experience. So how is it that you can get experience? And one of the ways is that you can attend our workshop on the 3rd of February and also our other Launchpad corners as well. And it echoes back to what I said at the very beginning, that the limit on the business is you. If you can grow and transform yourself as a person, your business will grow. What I want to say over you is that when I say this, I don't mean the concept of, you become a completely different person. I mean that you're evolving. It's your version of yourself who's able to bake those 1,000 pieces of bread, that's able to get the Future 100 startup, that's able to participate in the Launchpad hackathons and win it, that's able to go on and get Microsoft startups, that's able to deliver so much value and transform the lives of not only the people that you're working with, but also other people, the larger people, people within your life, and things like that, your family. So the limit is you in the beginning stages, because you don't have systems and procedures. And later on we're going to have other sessions where we'll talk about when you get more and more developed businesses, but right now we're focusing on really growing the startup culture that we've got over here. So in a nutshell, that is what a business mindset is. I don't have anything else to say. Sheher is raising his hand. Sheher, high five to the camera. We are going to go to questions and answering. I'm going to let Sheher take over now for a little bit whilst I rest my throat. Sheher, go take it away, my friend.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you, Saif, for the amazing session. And I would like to hear the questions from the attendees. I want to know, what did you learn? What are you expecting to learn? How was the session in general? So it's either you text and chat, or you can raise your hand and then speak to the rest of the team.
Reem raised their hand.
Hi, how is everyone? Thank you so much, Saif, for the very informative session. I've learned so many things in a very short time. Actually, it's my first time to attend session with Launchpad. So I was wondering if you can give us like a quick background about what do you guys do, because you mentioned hackathon, but then again it was SaaSathon. So I was a bit confused. So perhaps this is now business, and now we have the concept of technology as well. So if you can give us like a background about what do you guys do and how we as people working technology can benefit from you.
Yes. Totally. Let me take that away. Sheher, I'll take this one and then I'll hand back afterwards. So Coders Launchpad, it basically started at GITEX 2023 when we were on the Coders HQ stand. There was Sheher there, Vikesh was there, Isham, some of the co-founders of Coders Launchpad. And throughout the event, we had a lot of people, and myself particularly as well, had a lot of people come up to me, ask me about my experiences, learn that I've got multiple businesses, multiple startups, start asking me a lot about startups. And these guys have insane amount of technical knowledge. They don't understand the business side of things and how it's actually really easy to get started on the startup journey. There's not a lot that you need to put into to get there. So, we was on the stand and we said that, look, we should have a hackathon event. The words that came out of my mouth to Sheher and Vikesh and a few others were like, we should have a hackathon, but call it like a SaaSathon, where they build a SaaS. Instead of these guys attending a workshop where they're only going to learn one feature and things like that, we're going to show how to build a full SaaS product from start to finish to get that first demonstration sort of product available. So that's how it really started. And when we're talking about the hackathon and the SaaSathon, we use the term interchangeably, but we want to differentiate, because we are more than just a hackathon. It is a SaaS that you guys are building over here, and then we're going to be showcasing to you guys. And the first project is the it is the AI shorts clipper and the shorts generator. And it's more about showing to these people how you can go from being a technical person to a business technical person. You know, we want you guys to be able to become the best versions of yourselves, to be able to participate, learn how to take your technical knowledge, string it all together into one condensed, to create one condensed product, and then to actually be able to launch it as well. That's why we called it Launchpad. Launch your startups, guys. Go for it. You know what I mean? Accomplish your dreams, change your life, change the lives of the people that you want to serve. So that's what it is that we're trying to do, and that's the community that we're building within Coders HQ. We work very closely with the Ministry of AI, part of Coders HQ, and things like that. So I hope that sort of condensely answers your questions. What I would say is that on the YouTube, we've got a few podcast episodes out there. youtube.com/@Coders Launchpad. You can check out our link tree. Shahar, hopefully you have time to put the link tree link below as well, so you can get us on our various social media platforms. But you can really go into detail and you can see the level of effort that we're putting into it. This Friday, we're going to be 12 weeks old since the conversation where the words came out of my mouth that we should have a hackathon, but do it like have a SaaSathon, sort of thing. So we're 12 weeks since we initially had the idea, less than 12 weeks since we initially had the idea, and you guys can see the effect and the effect of speed that is that we're doing. So we practice what we preach. We've got people over here that have multiple businesses, such as myself and Vikesh, and we've got people on the team as well that have no experience in business whatsoever. They're still at university. So it's a very wide gamut, and we're trying to cater towards everyone to showcase them, make it really easy for them to start their dreams, and chase their dreams. Shahar, Reem, I hope I've answered that question. If there's any follow-up, if not, I'm going to hand back to Shahar.
You've answered very clearly. Thank you so much. It's such a great initiative. Thank you guys for the effort.
Thanks. No worries.
More than happy to serve the community, the UAE, and you guys. Let's go on to Adrian. If you have any question, can you please let us know what you have?
Yes, hi. Thank you for this amazing teaching that you've given us. I just wanted to ask, I was a bit late to it. What is Microsoft for startups? When you mentioned that, I was interested.
Yeah.
Yes, I think Saif can answer that in a better way because he is part of it. So yes, if you can.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that we're going to be covering, especially on a future Launchpad. I think Vikesh is going to take that topic. We haven't discussed it yet, but just to go over it very lightly, Aryan, is that Microsoft for Startups is a accelerator that you can apply for with an idea or with a product and things like that, and they'll give you support. They'll give you up to 150k in Azure credits and OpenAI credits. They'll give you access to Microsoft 365 for a year. You'll get GitHub Copilot, GitHub Enterprise, not GitHub Copilot. You get GitHub Enterprise for a year. You'll get some Bubble.io. It's a facilitator to allow you to build the startup that you want, and anyone can sign up to it at any point in time. So it's something that a lot of people aren't aware, that you can make use of Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. You can make use of other similar programs like NVIDIA Inception, like AWS Activate or Innovate and things like that. There's loads and loads of them that you can do, and some of them take equity, but Microsoft for Startups and NVIDIA don't take any equity, and all it takes is an application. And if you get accepted, they're going to be able to supercharge you and really help you accomplish, and get access to a lot of the infrastructure that you're going to need to get started and to get your first customers. So in a nutshell, that's Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. We'll discuss it more in details on a separate topic. I mean, we can really go into a lot of detail into the ways that you can have this, and we've got people from Microsoft that we're talking to about bringing on as well for them to actually discuss it yourselves. But if you look at the second podcast episode, we actually cover a little bit of this topic with Hatim Nagarwala. So if you look into that on YouTube, on our podcast episode, we've had Microsoft come on there. We talk about Microsoft startups over there as well, but we'll have some future content for you, inshallah. I hope that answers your question. Shahar, is there anyone else?
Yes, there's Walid.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Yes, thank you so much, Saif and Shahar. So my question is really simple. Let's say, so basically you're talking pretty inspiring. What I want to know from you is the perspective of, let's say I'm working full-time as a full-stack developer, and I have my startup idea. Okay, so how do I balance between my own time of learning the things that I can value at my work, like another course. So for example, I'm learning an agile course with the nano degree program on Udacity, or working on my own SaaS idea or startup idea. What is your advice on balancing that time?
Yeah, so you're talking to someone who's never had a job. First of all,
Oh,
like
okay.
I've only been in business and business. Yeah, yes, I've worked for
Right.
my father and like whatever, but like working for family and like that especially a company that your family owns is very different. It's not like a typical employee. It's more like you're running the company yourself. So I've never had a particular job or employment role. What I would say is that I have always prioritized myself and what will help me accomplish my goals quicker, and gone down that route. I mean, like, look, if you got a career and it's a significant career, you got to understand that not everyone is cut out for business, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. In 3 months you can build an MVP whilst working a job. You can get a very if you turn up at our event, we're going to show you a way of coding where you will realize what you can do in 24 hours, and you've got 48 hours on the weekend. You know what I mean? Is that like you can find the time? It's just about like, obviously, like you said, that you've got other commitments and things like that. But what you got to look at it, and this is like a decision that I made, is that I thought, do I get a job? Do I go into corporate IT or do I not? And what I did was I made the conscious decision that, like, okay, if I get a job in the next year, I'm currently on X amount salary now. If I go and train myself up, I'm going to be on Y amount. Okay. So the difference was about, I think it was like £10,000 or something. It wasn't a lot, and then I thought to myself, okay, the same amount of time that's going to take me to train, what if I launched a business? How can I make money out of it? One of the Launchpad corners that, again, I keep referencing it, but it's about the future programs that we got, is Vikesh is going to be talking about some of the ways that you can like launch something to help you get started, to help you get that process of making money, so that you can start the process of starting a business, that you can do. There's so many things that you could have, like an API service that you can just launch, and it doesn't take any effort whatsoever, and as people use it, you get paid a usage fee for it. You subtract that from your costs and things like that. So you have to make a decision. Like, I would say the most fairest point is that, like, look at your career options, look at what it is that you're doing. But I would say that you can always find time. You're talking to someone here who has multiple businesses, multiple communities. Like, ask Sheher, he'll tell you about how I'm always busy. I'm always working. But if you can find it. It's about becoming the person who's willing to spend the amount of time and has the mental endurance that can work on the business. But definitely attend the events, and what's really going to help you is spending time talking with people that are like business minded and are going through the same sort of time crunches that you're going through, and being in that environment. This is why we have the Coders Launchpad WhatsApp community and things like that, and we're going to be doing meetups and things like this where you can watch me play FIFA, destroy people on FIFA whilst I give them life-changing advice and other things like that. But that is what you can do, is that just get yourself in that environment as a first step, so that your mind starts thinking along the lines that you need to think. But no, Share, that doesn't count. Share, send something in chat. Share, that doesn't count. You installed FIFA so you wouldn't have to play me anymore. Let's put it that way. I got the new controller wire. Anyways, that, I hope that answers your question. Share, I'm going to add back to you if there's no follow-up on that. I think we still have a few people that have their hands raised.
Yes, Walid, do you have anything else? Okay.
Oh, no, appreciate you guys. Thank you, Saif.
Thank you.
No, see you on the WhatsApp chat.
And now let's go for Mohammed Al-Awadi. He has some questions he would like to ask you, Saif.
First of all, thank you so much for this. It was very informative, as they mentioned earlier, but it was very short. So I would like, and I hope to see the records of this session uploaded on YouTube, so we can go back and study what you have said, so we can benefit the most out of it. My question is, how can you manage to learn new things fast? For example, as you have mentioned, you get involved in multiple startups, so you often need to learn new things, new technical skills, let's say. How do you manage to do that in a short time?
So business is simple, people make it complicated. I see a job and I do it. I see a job and I'm like, okay, how long is it going to take me to do the job? And I just get it done. And it's that concept of bias towards action, is that like a lot of people overthink, you know, whereas what I prefer to do is I think just enough to understand what I need to do a good job. You know, what is the quality bar? What are the thresholds that I need to hit? And then from there, what I do is that I just go all in and I get it done. The sooner it's done, the sooner I can move on to the next thing. The sooner I know whether, you know, the sooner I've got experience in it, I'll understand if there's any pitfalls, if I need to get better at it, if there's something else that I need to do on it, you know. So that's something which I'm a big believer in. Just get things done. You know, understand what the quality bar is that you need to hit, go for it, get it done, make the time, make the space. You'll be amazed what you can do by how you can change your life, you know, by spending 5 to 7 years of just having this kind of mindset, which is as soon as I need to get something done, you know, as soon as there's a task that needs doing, you just get it done. You know, like, okay, I don't have the skill, okay, that's fine, watch a YouTube video, okay, I figured it out now, let me go ahead and do it, let me go ahead and learn it. You know, it's that, you know, concept of you have a calendar, you organize yourself, you understand that, you know, this task, or you use Notion, whatever it is that you're going to use, whatever your, you know, methodology is. Have a personal assistant if you can afford to pay one, but you have a list of tasks that have to be done by. You understand how long each task generally takes you to complete, so you understand that, okay, this task needs to be done by this, so I need to assign 2 hours here, 1 hour here, things like that. And then you understand the additional tasks that you're taking on, you just add them in and you just get them done. You'll be amazed what you can do. Shahar, you might actually be able to add to this. I mean, that you've seen the Launchpad way of working, which is kind of taken from the early stages of Launchpad. Are focused on the ideation stages, which is taken from my framework of when I built 10 products in 10 weeks, just over a year ago. I wanted to learn AI. So what did I do is I built 10 products in 10 weeks, and that gave me a particular framework, which we're now teaching as the Launchpad framework that you guys are going to learn, you know, in this event. So what it is that I'm saying is that you can do it. The question is, are you committed enough to do it? That's what you need to be thinking about. You know, can you find the time, you know, when you're really tired and you've had everything go wrong and your car's had an accident and then your boss hasn't been very nice to you and then, you know, the food that you like hasn't been made? Can you still sit down and find that 1 hour that you need to push to the next level? But Shahar, you know, if you want to talk about the concept of speed and just like see a job do it, you know, that might be a valuable thing that you can add. Other than that, I'm really happy to wrap up over here.
Yes, I just like to briefly say everything that we did in Launchpad was amazing. The amount of speed, the amount of things that we used to do. Usually what we do is, okay, you, Saif, will handle this, I'll handle that. But in Launchpad, what we had actually was the 10 tasks. Yalla, guys, everyone in, by tomorrow, everything should be done.
By yesterday.
By yesterday.
Yeah.
Everyone everything should be done, and you know, people rushing. Okay, come, I'll take this. Come, help me take. Let's do everything. That was actually amazing, and it's an insane workplace. You learn a lot, and yeah, if you keep an eye if we have any spots for anyone to join. So yeah, I think keep an eye if you would like to join. It's a great experience to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say that it's actually like you can attend one of our Launchpad corners and you get a certain amount of value. You can attend the hackathon, you get a lot more value, and then you can actually be part of the team and you get so much more value. You know, it's like through the roof the amount of value that you get. But I want to thank everyone. Shahar, am I okay to wrap up now? Okay, so I want to thank everyone for attending this Launchpad Corner. Again, we're going to be putting this out on YouTube, so stay close to that. We'd like you guys to comment on our social media, let people know how fantastic it was, comment on WhatsApp and things like that. Please really help us out, because we are going to be delivering innovative. We're literally giving you guys the source code for how to build a $1 million plus app in our first event. So how's about that for value, you know? So like, help us get the word out there, you know what I mean? And, you know, really push us forward, really engage with us on social media. We want to tailor our content to you guys. We're all approachable, you know, all of us. So, you know, I want to thank you so much. This is going to be a really key talk for what you're going to be doing on that day. And also we're going to have another series, all the Launchpad corners that are going to be coming out between now and the 3rd of Feb. They're all extremely key in order to increasing your chances of success on the SaaSathon, on the Hackathon day. So I want to thank you all so much for attending. We've got loads of events that we're going to be announcing right now. And thanks once again, guys, and see you on the next one.